Dear students, good morning to all. Now we will going to discuss about chapter 10 respiration in organisms. Listen, respiration. What is mean by respiration? Respiration means breathing. The inhale the air and exhale the air. Inhale the air. Inhale means um, Inhale means intake of air. Exhale means releasing air. That is the inhalation exhalation process during breathing or respiration. During breathing, we breathe in air. You know that air contains oxygen. We breathe out air which is rich in carbon dioxide. The air we breathe in is transported to all parts of the body and ultimately to each cell. In the cells, oxygen in the air helps in the breakdown of food. The process of breakdown of food in the cell with the release of energy is called cellular respirations. What is mean by cellular respiration? The process of breakdown of food in the cell with the release of energy is called cellular respiration. Cellular respiration takes place in cells of all organisms. Okay, cellular respiration takes place in the cells of all organisms. In the cell, the food is break down into carbon dioxide and water using oxygen. Okay, in the cell, the food is broken down into carbon dioxide and water using oxygen. When breakdown of glucose occurs with the use of oxygen, it is called aerobic respiration. See, students, listen. There are mainly two types of respirations. What is the two types of respirations? Aerobic respiration and anaerobic respirations. What is mean by aerobic respiration? Breakdown of glucose occurs with the use of oxygen. Glucose's breakdown occurs with the use of oxygen. It's called aerobic respirations. What is mean by anaerobic respiration? Food can also be break down without using oxygen. This is called anaerobic respiration. That's all. This is called anaerobic respiration. Breakdown of food releases energy. Listen, glucose in the presence of oxygen, carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. Okay, listen. Anaerobes. Anaerobes means what? Anaerobes means there are called, listen, the survive of the absence of air. That is the anaerobes. They get energy through anaerobic respirations. In the absence of oxygen, glucose breaks down into alcohol, carbon dioxide as given below. Listen, anaerobic respiration means absence of air. Aerobic respiration means presence of oxygen. Main difference anaerobic aerobic. Anaerobic means absence of oxygen. Aerobic means presence of oxygen. That is a mainly difference in anaerobic and aerobic respiration. Okay, glucose. Listen, glucose in the absence of oxygen, alcohol plus carbon dioxide plus energy. Okay. Next, yeast or single celled organisms, or all of you know about yeast. Yeast using in bakeries for making bread and the softness of cake. Okay, that is a yeast. The bakery to use yeast. Yeast or single celled organisms. They respire anaerobically and during this process yield alcohol. They are therefore used to make wine and beer. Okay, our muscle cells can also respire anaerobically, but only for a short time when there is a temporary deficiency of oxygen during heavy exercise. See, students, listen, during heavy exercise, fast running, cycling, walking for many hours or heavy weight lifting, the demand for energy is high. but the supply of oxygen to produce the energy is limited. Then anaerobic respiration takes place in the muscle cells to fulfill the demand of energy. Listen, glucose in the absence of oxygen. Okay, the lactic acid plus energy. Glucose in the absence of oxygen, lactic acid plus energy. Okay, then next in the giving out air rich in carbon dioxide with the help of respiratory oxygen organs. The taking in of air rich in oxygen into the body is called inhalations. What is mean by inhalation? During respiration, inhalation and exhalation process. First, inhalations. What is mean by inhalations? Taking in of air rich in oxygen into the body is called inhalation, and giving out of air rich in carbon dioxide is known as exhalation. Rich in carbon dioxide is known as exhalation. It is a continuous process. Okay, it is a continuous process which is going on all time and throughout the life of an organisms. Okay, what is the breathing rate? Define breathing rate, or what is breathing rate? The number of items, the number of times a person breathe in a minute is termed as breathing rate. That is a breathing rate. What is breathing rate? The number of times a person breathe in a minute is termed as breathing rate. Is very important. Note the point. Breathing rate. During breathing, inhalation and exhalation takes place alternately. A breath means one inhalation plus one exhalation. That is a breathe means. Breathe means what? One inhalation plus one exhalations. That is a breathe. Okay. An average an adult human being at rest breathe in and out 15 to 18 times in a minute. During heavy exercise, the breathing rate can increase up to 25 times per minute. Okay, 25 times per minute. While we exercise, not only do we breathe fast, we also take a deep breath and thus inhale more oxygen. And thus inhale more oxygen. Next, listen, see the picture, students. See the picture, students, listen. This shows the various activities carried out by person during a normal variations, the breathing rate during different activities. Next, how do we breathe? How do we breathe? When you inhale air, it passes through our nostrils into the nasal cavity. From the nasal cavity, the air reaches our lungs through the windpipe. Okay, through the windpipe. Lungs are present in the chest cavity. Lungs are present in the chest cavity. This cavity is surrounded by ribs on the sides. This cavity is surrounded by ribs on the sides. A large muscular sheet called diaphragm forms the floor of the chest cavity, or a large muscular sheet called diaphragm forms the floor of the chest cavity. Breathing involves the movement of the diaphragm and the rib cage. Okay, what is mean by diaphragm? What is diaphragm? The cavity is surrounded by the ribs on the sides. A large muscular sheet called diaphragm forms the floor of the chest cavity. Then next, during inhalation, Ribs move up and outwards and diaphragm moves down. This movement increases space in our chest cavity and air rushes into the lungs. The lungs get filled with air during exhalation. Okay, during exhalation, listen, see, during inhalation the ribs moves up and down. During inhalation's time the ribs move up and outwards, diaphragm moves down. During exhalation ribs move down and inwards while diaphragm moves up to its former positions. This reduces the size of the chest cavity. Which time reduce the chest cavity? During exhalations. Okay, exhalations to reduce the chest cavity and air is pushed out of the lungs. These movements in our body. Okay, next, take a deep breath. Keep your palm on the abdomen. Feel the movement of abdomen. After having learnt that during breathing there are changes in the size of the chest cavity, children got involved in the chest expansion competition. See, smoking damage lungs. Smoking is also linked to cancer. It must be avoided. See the picture, students. Human respiratory system. See, what are the respiratory systems? Nasal passage, oral cavity, pharynx, trachea, lungs, ribs, diaphragm. Next, the air around has various types of outwards particles such as smoke, dust, pollens, etc. When we inhale, the particles get trapped in the air present in our nasal cavity. Sometimes these particles may get paused air in the nasal cavity. This may irritate the lining of the cavity, as a result of which we sneeze. Sneezing expels these foreign particles from the inhaled air and a dust-free, clean air enters our body. Okay. When you sneeze, you should cover your nose so that the foreign particles you expel are not inhaled by other persons. Next, inhalation and exhalations diagram mechanism of human beings. Breathing in human beings. Listen, inhalation, the diaphragm moves down, air drawn in, the ribs move out, diaphragm move down during inhalation. During exhalation, air forced out, ribs move back, diaphragm moves also back. That is a exhalation. Next, breathing for better life. Breathe for better life. A regular traditional breathing exercise can increase the capacity of lungs to take in more air. Thus, more oxygen can be supplied to the body's cells, resulting in release of more energy. Okay. Next, see the percentage of oxygen and carbon dioxide inhaled and exhaled air. First inhaled air, then exhaled air. See the diagram, students. Inhaled air 21% oxygen, exhaled air 16.4% oxygen. Next, carbon dioxide inhale 0.04% carbon dioxide, exhaled air 4.4% carbon dioxide. Okay. Then next, breathing in other animals. Okay. Animals such as elephants, lions, cows, goat, frogs, lizards, snakes, birds have lungs in their chest cavities like the human beings. Listen, first cockroach. Cockroach has small openings on the sides of the body. Other insects also have similar openings. See, tracheal system in cockroach. The opening are called spiracles. Insects have a network of a tube called trachea for gases exchange. Oxygen-rich air rushes through the spiracles. Listen, tracheal tubes diffuse into the body tissues and reaches every cells of the body. Similarly, carbon dioxide from the cells goes into the tracheal tubes and moves out through spiracles. These air tubes, trachea, are found only in the insects. See the picture. This is a tracheal system of cockroach. Then next, earthworm. Recall the chapter, ninth chapter, okay. See, the skin of a earthworm feels moist and slimy on touching. Gases can easily pass through them. Through frogs have a pair of lungs. Like human beings, they can also breathe through their skin, which is moist and slippery. Okay, in earthworm. Then next, breathing underwater. Listen, breathing underwater means, listen, the gills are projections of the skin. You may wonder the how gills helps in breathing. The gills are well supplied with blood vessels. The exchange for exchange of gases. Note the point, students. Gills are well supplied with blood vessels for exchange of gases. Breathing organ of fish. Gills. Which one is the breathing organ of fish? Gills. Then roots absorb air from the soil. This one is the soil particles, root hair, then air space. Just to recall, respiration is essential for survival of living organisms. It releases energy from the food. Next, the oxygen we inhale is used to break down glucose into carbon dioxide and water. Energy is released in the process. The breakdown of glucose occurs in the cells of an organism. That is a cellular respiration. Next, the food is breakdown with the use of oxygen. It is called aerobic respirations. If the breakdown occurs without the use of oxygen, the respiration is called anaerobic respiration. During heavy exercise, when the supply of oxygen to our muscle cells is insufficient, food breakdown is by anaerobic respiration. Next, breathing is a part of the process of respiration, during which an organism takes in the oxygen rich air and gives out air rich in carbon dioxide. The respiratory organisms for the exchange of gases vary in different organisms. During inhalation, our lungs expand and then come back to the original state as the air moves out during exhalation. Next, increased physical activity enhances the rate of breathing. In animals like cow, buffalo, dog and cat, the respiratory organs and process of breathing are similar to those in humans. In earthworm, the exchange of gases occurs through the moist skin in fishes, takes place through gills, and in insect through the trachea. Next, plant. In plant, the root take in air present in the soil. Leaves have tiny pores called stomata. Stomata. What is the main function of stomata? The exchange of gases. The breakdown of glucose in the plant cell is similar to that other living beings. That's all, students. I will give some question answers. So read and write in a rough note and send my WhatsApp number. Okay. Why does an athlete breathe faster and deeper than usual after finishing the race? The answer: athletes need a lot of energy during the race, and for the release of energy, they need a lot of oxygen. Hence, they breathe faster than usual after finishing the race. List the similarities and difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. First, similarity. In both aerobic and anaerobic respiration, food is breakdown to release energy. Both takes place inside cells. Both produce byproducts. Difference: Aerobic respiration. It takes place in the presence of oxygen. Anaerobic respiration. It takes place in the absence of oxygen. Energy is released in higher amount. Aerobic. Anaerobic energy is released in lesser amount. Aerobic carbon dioxide and water are produced as byproducts. Anaerobic carbon dioxide and water produced by byproducts. Then it is a slow process. It is a fast process. Example, animal and plant cells. Example, human cells, yeast, bacteria. Next, why do we often sneeze when we inhale a lot of dust laden air? We often sneeze when we inhale a lot of dust laden air to expel out these foreign particles. These particles get past the hair in the nasal cavity and irritate the lining of the cavity, which results in sneezing. Next, take a test tube, students. Fill each of them water. Label A, B and C. Keep a snail in test tube A. Water plant test tube B. Then C. Keep snail and plant both. Okay. Then test tube would have the highest concentration of carbon dioxide. Answer. Test tube A will have highest concentration of CO2 because snail will take in oxygen and gives out CO2. In test tube B, C. The CO2 will be utilized. CO2 means what? Carbon dioxide. Utilized by the water plant for synthesize food and hence there will be less concentration of CO2 in this. That's all, students. Thank you.